Welcome back to Purified the podcast for entrepreneurs that's trying to figure it out. This is where we align faith with our work. Today, we have a special guest.
That's right.
All the way from Dallas, Texas.
Triple D in the building.
I can't believe it.
You know, we here.
Tell us your name, your age, and where you're from.
You tell me my name and my age and where I'm
No,
from.
come on.
Okay, that's what I thought. Stephon Royal. I'm in the building. I am 35 years old. And what? I'm from Dallas, Texas. You know that.
You from Dallas, Texas?
Triple D. Let's go.
Okay, are you married?
I am figuring things out.
Figuring things out. Okay,
Yes.
do you have any kids?
I am figuring things out. No, I'm just playing. I got 2 sons.
Oh my goodness. I'm like, what kind
I'm
of
just
answer
playing.
is
No,
this?
I got 2 sons. Kingston and Messiah, 7 and 8 years old. They're definitely my legacy.
Okay, but you didn't answer the question, are you married?
I did
'Cause
answer
the
it.
people on here probably going to want to know.
I did answer it.
You're figuring things out?
Yes.
Okay.
That's for people to figure things out there in the other world. But yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
So, as I said in the very beginning,
Mm-hmm.
this podcast is for entrepreneurs that's trying to figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
But I started this podcast talking about my relationship with God before I rebranded for it to be about entrepreneurs.
Mm-hmm.
So I asked everyone, what is your current relationship with God? Do you have a relationship with God?
God is my everything. God is the reason why I breathe. God is the reason why I succeed. God is the reason why I'm able to lead my kids and create all of this type of wealth and creativity. I believe that I get a lot of specialized knowledge from God. And I know that my calling is to be a prophet, and a lot of people may not, I'm not going to spook everybody out, but just when God talks to me, I see a lot of things about people. I could be sitting right here with you, and God has already shown me a million things about you. And, yeah, sometimes it's a blessing, and I feel like sometimes it's a curse. But either way, it works out beautiful. And so, yeah, everything that I do, I give full glory to God.
You know what? I would ask this man to tell me what he can
Oh,
see.
she don't
But
want
I'm not going to do it
You don't
because
want me to do that.
I'm not going to do it.
No, she's a superstar, though. Mia is going to be huge. Y'all have seen Oprah. Y'all have seen all these big-time, people. I believe that Mia is going to be that. She's going to speak on thousands of stages all across the world. I believe that a lot of men and women are going to come to her feet internationally and nationally. But, yeah, I'm just here to be a part of that growth.
Little old me?
She's not little. That's what she says. But she's a big old me.
Well, that was a good response, though, because usually people say, oh, my relationship with God is good. But that was a better response than I usually get.
Yeah.
So, as far as your relationship with God, though, tell me about your background as far as church. Like, did you grow up in a church?
No, I was, like my brother said, I was a drug baby. I got drugged to church every single day.
Okay.
Look, she thought I was talking about drugs. But, no, yeah, I got drugged to church every single day. No, my grandmother is a pastor. Both of my parents, they're ministers, but, they preach the gospel. And so I've been around church my whole life.
Oh, wow.
I was one of the preacher's kids that rebelled, and then I had to find my way, but they already raised me. So regardless, I found my way back, and so now we're here.
Excuse me. So what kind of church did you grow up in?
Non-denominational.
Okay.
Yeah, non-denominational,
That's
but
very rare.
Yeah, non-denominational. I personally grew up, but like my grandmother and them, they were Baptist, Pentecostal, just different backgrounds like that. But me personally, I grew up in non-denominational.
Did you deal with like things being super religious?
No, because I believe, like I said, if I was underneath like my grandmother's church and stuff like that, then that would have been like we couldn't play cards. We had to be quiet when it was thundering outside.
What?
That's the devil and God fighting. We don't want to mess up that. But
oh my goodness, that's the first time I ever heard that.
or we can't whistle in the house because that attracts demons. That's that from that. But my personal church, I grew up at Gospel Tabernacle. Shout out to my Bishop David E. Martin. He definitely like groomed me and took me away from the streets. And of course, my father, and my mother, they played a big role in that. But no, I didn't. I'm grateful that I didn't grow up with that strict like religion, and I was able to actually formalize or generate an actual relationship with God for myself.
Okay, so I know that some people like the church that I'm a social media manager for, one of the sermons that he just preached, he was talking about how sometimes people believe that because they go to church, they're saved, or because they got baptized, they're saved. So,
I'm listening though. Go ahead.
So do you have any, like, maybe your first experience with God that you would like to share?
Yeah. It's always been since a little kid. It was these, again, not to, you're probably, some people in the outside world, they're just going to think you're crazy, especially when it comes to stuff with God, right? So for me, I used to see spirits and stuff in my room when I was a little kid.
Oh, wow.
I would, some people see it as, they'll think about sleep paralysis and stuff like that. But for me, I was raised around it. People look at the movie Exorcist, but I've experienced stuff like that, and I know what stuff is real and what's not real. So for me, I would try to tell people when I was younger, like 5, 6, 7 years old, like I would see spirits while I'm in my room and this and this and that. And my grandmother was actually, shout out to her, Bishop Jones Daniels. She was the one who really helped me cultivate my gifts and understand not to be afraid of what I'm seeing, afraid of what I'm hearing, but to be able to call on God and be able to ask for clarity and things like that. As I got older, that's where I said I would begin to hear the voice of God and not confusing it for like, what are these crazy people around me? And it was just more of like, these were my angels. And I knew that I had angels around me. And when God would speak to me, especially about people, I started to learn to not speak so fastly. Yeah. Because as a this was me as a teenager. So as a teenager, I knew that God was with me because I would just hear things about my friends, see things about my friends. I wouldn't say it, and then boom, it would happen. And I'm like, God, you just showed me that. Yeah. So then as I got older, I got more confident to actually start talking to people and speaking to people and telling them what I would feel and see. And then you got to be very careful not to, I always say this, our generation, especially this church generation, we like to always say, God said, God said, God said, God said. And that was just your feelings. Yes. And that was just your emotions. And that was just you. That was your conscience, and you want to say God said. God did not tell you that, because if he said it, then why did you get so emotional about the decision? And why did you, the moment that something came in to make you feel some way about it, you just said, okay, I don't want to do this no more. Yeah. It was never God. It was just your emotions. Yeah. So that's when, at around 19 is when I actually became a minister at my church. But what happened in that is I was turning 19. A guy by the name of Prophet Ronald Hubbard came to our church. I was in the back of the church with both of my girlfriends at the time. And it was just like, yes, I said that, you know what I'm saying? But that, anyways, neither here nor there. I'm saved. So I was in this church. I was in the back of the church. We had like 5,000 members at the time. So I'm way in the back of the church. But it was on my birthday. My dad had kicked me out. I was living with my brother. And I remember my dad came over the house. It was like 2 o'clock in the morning. And he was like, the enemy woke him up and told him that he was going to kill me. Now, me being in sin and me being...
Your brother?
My dad.
Your dad, okay.
My dad. My dad is a prophet, too. So he always called me Little Prophet when I was growing up and stuff. So, I would... so he came over the house, to my brother's house, because that's where I was living after my dad kicked me out. I was living with my brother. My dad came over, said the enemy said that he, showed him vision, whatever, that he was going to try to take me out. And me being just, like I said, rebellious and stuff, I was like, man, get away from me. I don't want to hear all that going on. I don't want. Basically, was just telling them off, like, I don't want to hear all that. That weekend was my birthday, and I was turning 19. And I went to church. That was on a Saturday night. My dad came over. So we closed the door on him, made him go back home. He drove over to my brother's house, made him go back home, went to church that next morning. I wasn't even going to go. I was just like, I don't feel like going. But something in me told me, like, I need to go to church. I went to church and then right by the end of the service, like, I got it on video and audio. It's going to be on my album. But the prophet, like, just turned to my side of the church, and he was just like, that young man with all the stuff around his neck. I had like 20 chains on. It was ridiculous. And then he was just like, he was like, you need to lift your hands up to God. And I was just like, who? He was like, yes, you. And then I was like, oh, okay. So I'm like, put my hands up. And then he said, who came with you? And at that time, my sister and my dad came to church. Mm-hmm. He was like, that's your son? He was like, let me tell you what the enemy wanted to do before he could celebrate his 26th birthday, while it was my birthday that day. Oh, wow. And he said the enemy wanted to kill him before he could celebrate his 26th birthday. Mm. And at that point, he was just like, boom, and I broke down. And he was like, you need to run to your father. He was like, because your father is the salvation of your life right now. Mm. And I'm just like, bro, this dude, first of all, you embarrassed me in front of my girlfriends. Second of all, you hitting me right. Second of all, you hitting me right in the heart with what my dad just came and spoke to me the night before. So I can tell you this, no matter how much you're in sin, no matter how much you choose to rebel, you know when you need to get your life right. And so it was at that moment. And then he said, let me tell you what happened to your son. He would get scared of what he would feel whenever he would close his eyes to pray. He would get scared of what he would feel whenever he would begin to worship. So he decided to go the other way. And then he told my dad, he was like, but if you praise him right now, even if he don't, but if you do, it's going to lift the spirit that wanted to kill your son and take him to an early grave. And it was at that moment, like my whole life just, I mean, you talk about instantly, I dropped everything I was doing and I just stopped. And I just went completely the other way. Now, doesn't mean that I became a saint overnight, anything like that. But the things that I was doing at that specific time, I just stopped cold turkey. Smoking, drinking, females, all that type of stuff. Like I just stopped. Now, here goes the crazy part. October comes. That was September. I'm a Virgo. September 21st. October comes. And that was, so then it was like some Halloween party. I was already grounded, so I couldn't go nowhere. I lied to my parents, and I told them I was going to a Halloween party, knowing that it was just going to be a whole bunch of females, drugs, and stuff there. That was the first time I did anything since that day. So I went there, and that night, I tell you, like, I almost lost my life like 7 times in one night. It was ridiculous. But not to go fully deep in that story, but that goes to show you, like, when God wants you, he's serious about you, and he's going to let you know, like, he's not playing about you. Us, sometimes we feel like, well, why do they get away with everything? When you're God's chosen, it's just, it is what it is. Yeah. There is no running. There is no hiding. So same thing. I'm like, okay, after that night, that's when I literally kind of almost went numb for like the next 3 months. And I was just really heavy in the church. I was just like, okay, God is not playing with me. He done already said that in September. I tried to do my own thing again in October, showed me again in October. So I'm just like, I need to get my life right. And then that's when I kind of just, at 20 going into 21 and stuff, that's when I met my wife at that time. And I think that's kind of like when my life actually started, was at that moment. Yes, I'm an OG. I did get married at 20, turning into 21. So that's just a little bit of my story.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you did say that you rebelled. So you mentioned smoking, drinking. Mm-hmm. The girls. Mm-hmm. In parties with drugs.
Yes, and a lot of gang banging and stuff.
A lot of gang banging. You was gang banging?
Yeah, I know. I just look like this. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't see gang banging. You said
you know what?
Over there with the chains. I'm like, chains? I've never seen you with no chains on.
Good. Hey, I'm free now. Ain't no chains around me.
I'm free.
Let's go.
I'm free. I like that. Okay. So you said your wife at the time. Mm-hmm. Are you still married?
We're figuring things out.
Okay. Mm-hmm. I think I understand a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay, got it. Okay. So when did you? Oh, but you got married. So
yes,
you end up having kids after you got married.
Of course. Yes. Okay. I did everything the right way. Yes.
Okay. What did you like grow up with? Your family, like, putting it in your head that you need to be married? So,
yeah, like, my parents, and my dad is actually headed to Vegas right now. It's going to be my mom. They're celebrating 41 years. The 16th is their anniversary, I believe, or maybe even the 13th. It's one of those, 13th or the 16th, but they're celebrating 41 years, so I've always had that image of marriage and what it's supposed to be. My brother, he got married at, like, 21 years old as well. So I remember I was mad at my brother when he left. I was like, "How you gonna leave me for this girl?" But now that's my sister-in-law. And my niece and my nephews were born out of that. So I just didn't understand. But at that time, even just seeing him as a young man do that inspired me to be like, "Oh, you know what? I can do it." I didn't see my parents get married young, but I did see my brother get married young, and that's what inspired. And then of course, like I said, my pastor, Bishop Martin and Melody Martin, they were just always great examples to me of what a marriage actually looks like. So I did have good examples of that.
That's good. Mm-hmm. That's part of the reason why I asked, because I do desire to be married one day, but I don't have examples.
Yeah.
So
I'll tell you my examples, like, to answer your question while you keep asking me, like, am I married, right? All right, here it goes, right? In marriage, because this year would actually be, I want to say 2010 is when we got married. So this year would actually, December 3rd is my actual anniversary. That would be 14 years. But in marriage, everything doesn't always go as planned. So I'm the story. I believe that God is trying to redeem my marriage. But at the same time, there are things that happen outside of your control to where it's, and like I said, I don't mind being open about it. There was a time where, like the last 2 years, I would have just been completely silent. If you would have asked me that, I would have been like, next question.
Okay.
So now it's more of like, okay, me and my wife, we're in a space to where it's a valley of decision. It's either we're going to move forward or we're going to move forward with love for our kids. And I believe that God can restore anything. I believe that God can do those things, but it's just, it takes two people to be able to come to that decision.
Yeah.
And so, you know, again, I believe in the God of restoration, but I believe also that, look, if this thing goes the opposite way, we are still going to be, first of all, we were best friends before we got married.
Yeah.
So a lot of people just rush to get married because they want love. They want, they don't want to be lonely no more. They want to have this. And I would caution against that.
Yeah.
Because I believe the reason why me and her still even have love in between us is because of the fact that we were friends before.
Yeah.
And we started off on God's foundation. And we said, you know, so when things got thrown in there and we allowed flesh to come in and we allowed certain things to come in there, yeah, right now it's like World War III.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I still have love for her, and I would never want anything to happen to her. I would always make sure I still give her my best, even if something were to, we went separate ways. But at the same token, all right, God, because this is a God honest, truthful statement. I told my mom this. I said, sometimes, now here comes the religion and the Christianity. Sometimes I allow religion and Christianity to control my thoughts. And the fact of, oh, you're not supposed to get a divorce.
Yeah.
That's like voodoo. Like, you don't do that. But that doesn't excuse bad behavior. That doesn't excuse certain things that may have been done, right? And it's just a matter, I think it's up to that person or those two people if we have enough strength and enough courage and enough faith to be able to move past that, or we just say, hey, we love each other and we're still going to show love and honor each other. So that's the space that I'm in right now. And you know, it's kind of like a to be continued.
Yeah.
It's, you know, God is either going to restore fully or he's going to restore and we're still going to love our kids fully. Yeah. So that's just kind of where it's at.
Well, thank you for sharing that.
You're welcome.
Because, you know, I really want, when I used to talk about me wanting to do a podcast before I started a podcast, I used to want to do a podcast about relationships. But I don't think I'm in the space for it. But I still love love. But when you were saying that, I was thinking about, I can't tell you exactly what the scripture says, but I was just thinking about the scripture where Paul basically says, like, you're going to have problems in your marriage. So,
and it's not to be, and that's the thing is I would tell young couples, single people, is that don't glorify marriage.
Yeah.
It's, and it's not, I love marriage, but what I'm saying is don't glorify it to where you ignore all of the steps that you need to be doing before you get married. And so a lot of the red flags or the things that we dealt with in our marriage is because we ignored them. We in love. We're in love. I don't care what he do. I don't care what she do. I'm in love. And then boom, when you happen that first year of marriage, that first 5 years of marriage, that first 10 years of marriage, like I said, I'm speaking like I'm an OG, but the real truth of the matter is I am. I was married for 14 years, together for 16. So that's not something that, no matter if y'all went separate ways or not, that's not something that you just throw away. You know, so I think people on the outside, they're just viewing it like, when are you separating so I can have my chance? When are you, this is God honest truth. Like the women, I feel like it was intensified when I got married. But now that I'm in the valley of decision, there is like the enemy sends people to like, can you hurry up? What are you going to do? Are you by your, look, we see the value in you as a man and I need you to myself. But you just want what she has, not realizing what she's been through. And vice versa for any guys that try to come at her. I see her inboxes. It's just be like the same thing. So in that exact moment, I would just tell people, when you're in marriage, this may help somebody, I don't know. But when you're in marriage, you see all these celebrities. You be like, oh, I want their love. Oh, I see the Cardi B and then I want her. But then 2 years later, Cardi B and Offset are going back and forth on the internet. Or you say Michael B. Jordan and Lori Harvey, and then all of a sudden she's with, and then Bailey. And so, and it's nothing wrong. Look, guess what? I want all these relationships to work. But at the same time, we got to stop glorifying things that are not putting God first. Because in my relationship, one thing I have learned is to trust God. One thing I've learned is to realize, Stephon, you don't always got all the answers.
Yeah.
Maybe sometimes she was right and you was wrong.
Yeah.
And just because you're the leader of the household or the head of the household doesn't mean that you can't listen to who God brought into your life to be the rib. And vice versa. I know that she's learned a lot. So for me, in marriage, things are not going to always go as planned. They're not going to always be peaches and cream. But this is the one thing I would tell you. It's a choice to love that person every day. Yeah. You don't got to like me every day. You're not going to like me every day. Matter of fact, there's going to be days you hate my guts. And you probably wish I went to somewhere else. But you have to choose to love that person. Everything that you do, our grandparents, we be like, how did they do it? Trust me, they had plenty of days that they wanted to walk away from each other. Yeah. But they chose to stay in love. So that's from a young OG.
Okay, so I'm about to get into the entrepreneurship questions. Yeah. But I do want to ask, has the trials that have happened in your marriage, have you seen that affect you in your work as an entrepreneur?
It impacts every single area of my life. Every single area. And I say that in the fact of not in my work, not in the fact that I know how to do things. Skill sets, that ain't going nowhere. But it's the matter of, as a husband, I always said this even as a 19-year-old, that's why I knew I wanted to get married earlier. I'm not for the streets. It's funny, you probably hear from the women say that. But from guys, you don't never really hear that. And it's because of the examples that I've seen, I always felt like I was a valuable prize. Yeah. I didn't want to just be out here with women all the time. So there was a certain point where the enemy tried to come in on that and test me on that. And so there's things that I feel like I failed or feel like, okay, I need to be redeemed from. But when it comes to my marriage, even like right now, I feel like sometimes my business is held up because we haven't made a decision of what we want to do. Yeah. Sometimes I feel it's not that I can't go for it and be successful, and I could, but it's just the fact of, okay, God, what do you want me to do? And the only thing I'm hearing is be still. Yeah. So that's the frustrating part, because you're like, okay, I want to move forward in this and go full throttle, and God is like, you need to be still. Yeah. I'm like, be still for what? Yeah. I'm like, I'm good at what I do. I don't need to be. But guess what? Because it does put a hinder on it. When other women do come to you and you're like, well, that question, you see, it's just like, I don't know. Yeah. And it's not, I'm not lying to you. I'm literally, I don't know.
See, I'm not going to lie, though. I struggle with when people say stuff like, are you being sarcastic or are you for real? So that's why I'm like.
And I understand that. So at the same time, if I'm talking to somebody and I'm saying that, it's just like, I'm not trying to be deceitful. I'm not trying to, that's my real answer without having to give you everything that goes on in my relationship. So, but yes, it definitely does, because in my mind, I've built up this persona. I'm not even going to say persona. That's really who I am. I'm a husband. I'm a father. I build towards that. That's my legacy. That's what I'm pushing in hard for, and do that. So then once there's a hammer thrown into that, now you're like, what am I working for? Yeah. Now you're like, you can be like yourself, but it's a different feeling, because it's like if I come to work or if I go to do a conference and I'm speaking on stage and I look to the left and my kids and wife are there, that's a whole nother animal that's going to be brought out of me when I get on that stage. Versus if I'm there by myself, I'm still going to bring that energy. Yeah. But it's just like a little bit less than when I had it, whenever I saw what I was building for, sitting there next to me.
I understand.
So that's kind of how I explain it. Or I think even like just being honest, like in the business world, even in the church world, it's like that's kind of like that Nobel Prize. Like when you're a family man and you're a businessman, that it definitely sets you apart from a lot of other individuals. Because you're the single businessman, you wildin'. You out there most of the times. But if you say, I got a wife and I got kids, it does. It's frowned upon to be like a single man, high successful, valuable, versus somebody who's actually married. Yeah. And I've learned that by being in the business world. I've seen arranged marriages for businessmen just so that they can look like they got it together. And I'm over here on the real side of it, like, that's not real marriage, but I have a real marriage. So, and real marriage doesn't mean always peaches and cream.
Yeah. I feel that, though, even though I'm not married, because when I got saved, I started having this desire for marriage, right, that I didn't necessarily have at first. And I feel like, of course, God wants to work on you before you get yourself in a relationship or whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
But I was having this feeling like all the time, or this desire all the time about marriage. So then when I just realized, okay, God is working on me. He's trying to get me together. He gave Adam his work before he gave him his Eve. Like, I'm like, okay, but I still have that feeling that it's like, I still want to be business mom. I still want to be business wife.
Yeah.
I don't want to just like, what am I doing?
Yeah.
But I'm just learning to trust God because I don't know what his timing or his plan is.
I'm going to say this because, I mean, now, the type of business that I do, I'm around a lot of women. I'm around a lot of men. Multicultural, things like that. But when it comes to relationships, this is what my God-honest advice would be, is to work on yourself.
Yeah.
I've heard stories of people say, I want a relationship, I want a husband, I want a wife. And then they'll turn right back around and tell me every reason why they don't need to be a husband or a wife. And it's just like, you still have a lot of trauma, a lot of baggage, a lot of stuff. Now, it doesn't mean that man or that woman that won't come into your life won't be able to handle it.
Right.
But it's just a matter of, I see people wanting the marriage or they want the kids before they even want to work on themselves.
Yeah.
So what do you think is going to happen when God finally does give you a husband?
Exactly.
What is he going to do when he finally does give you a wife? Men that want a wife and can't even afford their own place.
Yeah.
Men that they still living with their parents, but they want a wife. Like, here goes, you're talking to somebody. I was 19. I'm like, okay, we got to stay with my parents for the first 6 months. I'm like, oh, I should have had this figured out before. I was just in love. But so it's just like now, it's just like, okay, it doesn't mean that you got to be perfect. It doesn't mean that you got to have everything put together. But some of the stuff that I'm realizing that a lot of adults are going through is childhood trauma.
Yeah.
That's one thing I'm going to speak on, and speaking even for myself. Childhood trauma ruins a lot of relationships. But because we refuse to deal with that childhood trauma, we go into that marriage expecting for that person to be our superhero. And when we realize that they are just a human, just like us, we get our feelings hurt. Yeah. And now we're looking for something else. There's a lot of knowledge and wisdom I can go on about marriage and stuff that we ignored. Okay, we just did 6 months of marriage counseling before we got married. We should have been in marriage counseling for like 2 years. Yeah. But I need a husband in 1 year. They better marry me in the first 3 days. Yeah. That's how it is now because everybody's in a rush to get, and then you get a divorce a year later. You get a divorce 3 years, 5 years later, looking for another husband. And you only 30, you only 35, already on your third marriage. Yeah. It's not the way to go.
I'm thinking about going live because people tell me, go live on your page. I'm like, I don't want to be on there with only 19 views.
Guess what? I tell you this, it's about consistency. I don't care if one person show up. Your voice is going to be heard regardless. This is what I do. Yeah. I do social media and branding marketing. Every person that starts off on social media, they be like, well, what if I don't get a lot of likes? I don't get a lot of, we were talking about it earlier. We'll archive something if it don't do the numbers we want. Yeah. Right? But the real truth of the matter is, that's about motivation. That's about you feeling like, did I achieve what I wanted? But consistency always outperforms motivation. Yeah. Consistency will get you into doors that your work ethic, it's just like, if you only got 10 likes on this one got 100 likes, this one got 50, but people saw your journey. Yeah. You think you just going to start a podcast today and you going to have 1,000 subscribers. It don't work like that. What if you got 2 loyal subscribers who end up being somebody who pitches your podcast to somebody? Yeah. But because you only saw those 2 people on there, you're like, I'm not going to do this. It was nothing. But you don't know who's watching your stuff.
Yes, it is a process, yes.
So, that's it.
Well, I was saying that to say, this week I was thinking about going live on really all of my platforms to talk about childhood trauma. Yeah. Because I finally got to a point where I had a conversation with my mom, but I feel like the way God exposed me to me, I was trying to figure out like why my journey. Like, why was my journey what it was? Why am I back here? Why have I not left yet? Because now that I've seen the rest of the world, I want to continue to experience the rest of the world. But something just made me realize, like, maybe God wants me to be sitting in this place so that I can deal with those things. Because I've gotten to a point where, like with my mama, for example, when I grew up, there was no talking.
Yeah.
Like, if I said something, there was yelling, screaming, cussing, and then I would shut down.
Yeah.
So I couldn't put the words together as a child, but now I know that because I couldn't say what I felt, I was going through something internally, like having an internal battle with myself.
Yeah.
And I was just like, well, what's the point of me being here? Like, always trying to die, like commit suicide and stuff like that. But so now as an adult, I'm very passive, and my mama is very passive as well. Instead of us talking about it, we'll just like run. So I could be at my mom's house, she'll say something that triggers me, and then I'll be like, okay, well, we about to go. And she won't hear from me for another 2 weeks. I never told her what's wrong, though.
Correct.
So just because you spoke about childhood trauma, like childhood trauma is real. Just because you get saved from the judgment of sin does not mean that you don't have no more internal work to do. No. You still have some digging deeper to do. Sanctification is throughout our whole lives, not just one little process of God saying, go away from your family, now you've been sanctified, and now you're glorified. No, you're not glorified till you make it to heaven.
Correct.
But, okay, entrepreneurship. So tell us what you do. Because I know you do a lot of things. You're a businessman.
Yes. So first off, I'm an investor. I trade in the financial markets. We do futures. That's my specialty. We do day trading. That's my specialty. Cryptos, options, binary. These type of words may just be like, what in the world? But the main thing is think about like stocks. Think about trading. If you guys have ever seen The Wolf of Wall Street, if you ever seen The Pursuit of Happiness with Will Smith in that movie, it's just like these are the type of things that it's just an exchange of foreign currency from all around the world. Have you ever been outside the country?
Cancun.
All right. So, hey, that's outside the country. So, in Mexico, they have pesos, right? If we were to go to Europe, they have euros. If we go to Japan, they have Japanese yen. So, everybody has currencies, no matter what part of the world you're in. But now it's about the exchange and how we can actually make money off of that. So, I educate. I'm a part of a phenomenal company called iGenius, and that's our specialty. We educate. We're actually one of the only publicly traded companies that actually do this. So we're actually on the NASDAQ. But again, we teach financial literacy. We teach financial, how to be able to have financial gain. A lot of people work every single day. There's nothing wrong with having a 9-to-5, stability and all those type of things. But the whole goal is to have multiple streams of income. And so I just learned this in 2020. During COVID is when I finally stepped into this world. And I have seen the most success without putting my business out there and y'all stalking me and y'all coming to try to figure out where I live at. It's just like I have seen a lot of success financially from this skill set. And not only that, I've been able to teach thousands and thousands all around the world how to be able to do this. I'm also a hip-hop artist. So before all of that, before I learned all of financial literacy, I was a hip-hop artist. I kind of grew, like I said, I grew up in the church. So I was going 2 different ways at the time. When I was 14, I was getting pulled into the world. I was doing gangster rap. And then luckily, shout out to my brother-in-law, Paul Santos. You know, he pulled me in and started mentoring me and kind of showed me like the Christian rap world. I got into the Christian rap world around the same time, 14, 15 years old. And I mean, when I tell you, like I took off in that world like crazy, God was just opening up doors left and right. Like I probably became one of the biggest Christian artists in Dallas. And opening doors for a whole bunch of other artists. And so they even just made a movie about me, and we were inside of that about being one of the pioneers in Dallas. And so that even got me put on to start working with BET. And I started doing BET Music Matters and BET Experience, and I moved to L.A.
Help me get on BET.
And I moved to L.A. Shout out to my manager at the time, B. Mike Robb. So it's just like, man, God opened so many doors, but then I struggled with that because now I'm in the mainstream world, entertainment world, and I'm young, and I'm like, okay, I'm too worldly for the church, but I'm too churchy for the world. So I was like right there in the middle. So I struggled for that for a while when I was in LA, but that's when in 2016 we had our first son, Kingston. And then after he was born, 6 weeks later, she was pregnant again, and then we had my son, Messiah. So I was like, all right, we got to move back to Dallas because we were out there by ourselves, and so we moved back to Dallas where all the family was. So music-wise, I had a great career, and I still have one. I actually been all that time when we moved back, I felt like, man, God, that was my real passion. That's my true passion is music.
Yeah.
Whether I'm performing or whether I'm engineering, that's my true passion. And so that same prophet, he came back like 10 years later and was like, hey, he didn't even know who I was. I had a different hair, everything. He still prophesied to me way in the back of the room on New Year's.
Wow.
He's just like, God said to don't be afraid to let God transition you. Mm-hmm. He was like, you wanted to be this celebrated artist, and God said you were supposed to be the celebrated producer. And I'm just like, bro, who is this dude talking to? Stop talking to me every time you come to this church. But I realize he even has a big part to do with who I am in my calling and what God is. That's what I mean. And so when I met him after church that day, he was like, hey, I want to be your son's godfather. He just came up again last Sunday. I'm always looking forward to when he comes. He just came again last Sunday, and I actually just told him I'm ready to accept my calling now. Mm-hmm. Finally, at 35. He came to me when I was 19. At 35, I finally just told him, I said, I'm ready to accept my calling as a prophet. And what that even looks like, what that even means, I don't even know the full ins and outs, but I'm ready, and can you be one of my mentors? Yeah. He said, take my number. Let's go. Mm-hmm. So I do music. Then when I came back from Cali, shout out to Kiki J. She was one of the top radio hosts in Dallas, and she put me on to modeling. She was like, you look good. You're handsome. She was like, I think you have a good personality. I think you would be good at modeling. I was just like, bro, I'm not finna do that. I'm a gangster, first of all, at that time. I'm like, I'm not finna, bro, what I look like in some skinny jeans and I'm like, I'm not finna do all that, bro. Like, I'm just like, I'm good on that. I'm doing music. I'm good. I don't need none of that. And at the same time, I have my clothing line, King Moves Only and Queen Moves Only.
But you still model, right?
I do.
Okay.
So at that time, she put me into my first fashion show with K. Michelle and Tank. And I remember I did that. And from that show, I literally got booked every single weekend after that show for the next 2 years.
Hey, you never know who you're sitting next to, okay?
So
I didn't know all this, okay?
No, she didn't. So I literally got booked, like, for the next 2 years. I mean, I'm just doing everything. LA Fashion Week, New York Fashion Week, Street Fashion Week. I don't know. Any fashion week you can think of. I'm doing magazine covers. Shout out to Crave Magazine. I'm literally on every single magazine cover you can imagine. Oh, wow. And so I'm just like, God, what in the world are you doing in my life? Like, I just went from doing music in LA, coming here, now I'm full-time modeling. I ain't did not 1 ounce of music, but now you're taking me off into modeling in the fashion world. Yeah. That's what, I met Milano. I don't know if y'all, she's I don't want to title her that. She's a phenomenal designer, but she's also the precious mother of Meek Mill's child, right? Mm-hmm. And so she's phenomenal. When she came to Dallas, that was the first time I recognized like what I could do, mm-hmm. right? And that's when I started King and Queen Moves Only clothing line. So the whole thing behind King and Queen Moves Only is to empower others to realize that they are kings and queens. A lot of people don't realize their power because of childhood trauma. Yeah. They feel like less than, or they got to be quiet. I always chase the acceptance of my father. Mm-hmm. Me and my dad was just talking about this breakfast like 2 days ago. I said, there's still things that hurt me as a teenager or a kid that I felt like you didn't hear me on. Yeah. And it still impacts me as a 35-year-old. Yeah. It's not, I said, and you going to tell me, he'll be like, well, I don't know what I did. I ain't did nothing. You need to accept it. But I'm like, Dad, no, you have to hear me. Yeah. I said, I'm no longer afraid not to speak up about how I felt, mm-hmm. or even if you don't understand, it's still impacting me. And this is why I'm acting this way. Or this is, well, no, that's just an excuse. You're a grown man now. I am a grown man now. But it's still impacting me to this day. Yeah. And it impacts my decision making, the thought process, everything that I'm doing. And I'm trying to I'm going to break the curse, or I'm going to break this philosophy, because I have 2 sons now. So this is my opportunity to get it right and do it the right way, how I felt anyways. But my dad is a phenomenal man. I mean, he taught me the word of God first before anybody. So it's not, what I was telling him is, look, I think in 2024, families are not families no more. Mm-hmm. Everybody got this, I'm out for myself mentality. Yeah. Because everybody, especially the black community, we don't heal. We don't deal with our trauma. Hey. We don't believe in therapy. We believe in praying to God. That's it.
My mama literally told me that same thing.
And so now that I've gone to counseling now. Now I believe in therapy. I understand that, and because especially as men, now it goes to so many dimensions. It's like you got the black family, then you got the women, then you got the man who definitely can't cry, or the man that definitely can't shed tears, and they definitely can't express themselves. And so men are like, I'm not going out there. Well, I need another man to tell me what I need to do for it. I can just pray, or I'll figure it out. That's how men are. But and all of that, like I said, I started doing modeling. That took off like crazy. I'm just like, okay, God, no matter where I go, you just keep showing me that I'm supposed to be destined for greatness in something.
Yeah.
So then, boom, I had literally just signed my contract. I got picked up. Shout out to my acting management, Slam Management in Atlanta. I got picked up by them. I went to a big conference. Shout out to my manager, Willie Johnson, in Dallas with J3 Production, J3. So he's the one who really groomed me in the modeling world, showed me how to do it. He was like, it's not about, he was like, Stephon, there's a difference. You think you just sexy, and you just think you look good on Instagram. I'm trying to position you for the modeling world, the real modeling world. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of people who just throw cute pictures up on Instagram, and they doctor it up, and they take nice professional photo shoots, and they think that they're Instagram models, or they think that they're a model all of a sudden. And it's like, when I realized the work that it takes to truly be a real model, it's just completely different. My little sister, Hadasha, she's a worldwide model now. We used to practice in the living room, the Tyra Banks show, America's Most, whatever, to next top model. And just to see my little sister go from us doing that, she was the first one to do it. Now, here go, the real OG is my mom. She used to be bikini model and all this. We seen the picture. We was like, Mama, what is you doing? But at the same time, you know, I that goes to show you how sometimes dreams and visions, they go through the bloodline, which is why it's important for you to be the first one sometimes to break that or to make it fully happen. It didn't happen with grandma. It didn't happen with your mom, but maybe it's supposed to happen with you. Yeah. Or maybe it don't happen with you. Maybe it's supposed to happen with your kids. So for my mom to have a dream, and she did start modeling, but she didn't know what to do. Then it comes to us. And then I thought it was weird at first. My sister went forth, and now my sister is the new cover girl. Now my sister is on all of the different Amazon package box things outside of all the stores and for Revlon.
Does your sister have kids too?
No. And my sister is a virgin at 32 years old. Oh,
hallelujah.
Praise God.
Nobody but God.
Yeah, okay. So let somebody try. Anyways, but that's one thing I appreciate about her, because through it all, and she was a curvy model. So that was another thing she was fighting against. Like, I don't know if I can do this. But God just opened up every single door for her. So then finally, I remember one time I went to California with her, and she was doing like a Target commercial. She was there, I promise to God, she was there for about 30 minutes. And they paid that girl like $13,000. I said, I'm in the wrong business. I said, I'm a model now. I'm going to start modeling.
Me too. I'm ready.
I said, no, ain't no way. And we spent the rest of that, whatever. We was out there with Jordan Sparks and her husband at the time. And stuff. It was just like, okay, you know what? No, I look good. I need to learn this stuff because modeling is a skill set. But one thing I learned about the modeling industry is sometimes it takes a while to get your first yes. And there's a lot of models that do a lot of fashion shows and runway shows, and they're not getting paid. They're still hustling, and they still they got all these side gigs to try to pursue their dreams. Yeah. And so finally, shout out to my mentor, Miranda Green, or at the time, she's married now. So Miranda, she was after me for 4 years trying to get me to learn this trading and investing. And I kept telling her, no, I'm good. I don't need that. I'm good. It's Chinese to me. It's foreign. It's too much work on the screen. I see all these charts. Bro, I don't got time for that. I'm not finna do none of that. And as soon as I got signed to my agency, COVID hit, shut everything down. Everything that generated me money, music, fashion, modeling, all got shut down. I said, if Beyonce ain't performing, I know I'm not going to get booked to perform nowhere. So now I'm sitting at home like, bro, you know what? I hit her up. I was like, so what's this little trading thing you've been talking about? All before then, it was God ain't told me to do that. But now, COVID happened. All right, what's this investment thing about? Yeah. Literally within 10 months, God took me from 3 figures to 4 figures to 5 figures to 6 figures, months? 10 months to 7 figures. And I'm just like, okay, I've been sleeping on myself. I've been sleeping on We sleep on opportunity just because it don't sound like God. This is what I want to tell people out there. What if what you're supposed to do don't sound like God? It's gonna be it may be a hard concept for you to gather. What if usually what God tells you to do, you don't want to do?
I'm not gonna lie. I realized that there are some things that, like, because I was in a place where I was waiting for God to tell me every single thing. And I realized that God wants me to make some decisions for myself. And sometimes the desire that I have for the decision that I'm wanting to make is the desire that he gave me to make it.
Right. And so then check this out. The very thing that I ignored for 4 years, all the way till I was 30 years old, literally blessed my life, changed my life like this. And I could have been doing it since I was 26. But because I ignored it, I was 30 now. So then, not only that, it then opened up a world of, now it's not just the blessing is on me. And I think one of my mentors, Kane, he said this today on one of our calls. He said, blessings don't have to make sense.
Yeah.
We always think, okay, I got to do the work, I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to get the blessing.
Yeah.
That's not always the blessing.
No.
Blessings can come from, you don't know what this interview is going to do.
Yeah.
I just met you a month ago. I don't know what this was going to happen.
Yeah.
I never knew I was going to be on Mia's show. This was not planned. I met her through Raya. Shout out to Raya. And it's just like, this is what God is doing. He's an engineer. He's just like, okay, she needs this. He needs this. Put this over here. Put this over here. And we got to be open enough and have discernment enough to realize when God is in the room.
Yeah.
When God is in the move. When God is in the midst. And so I started doing the trading. I then became an educator. Then my mentor at the time, shout out to Dr. Spiller. He still is. Dr. Spiller taught me software engineering. He taught me software development. He taught me trading with systems and strategy and not always having to do all the work by yourself. And it was at that moment when I realized, okay, guy, you're trying to take me to something way more on a global level. I'm just thinking small. The next thing is, a lot of us think too small. We think our cities, we the king and queen of Houston. We the king and queen of Dallas. And he said, you're the king of this world.
Yeah.
And you don't realize it because you're just like, okay, I'm going to find my community. I'm going to find my niche. I'm going to find my people. And it's just like, what if your people is in Saudi Arabia?
Yeah.
You don't know. What if your husband is in Dubai? And y'all still looking in Dallas and Houston?
Because he ain't in Houston. I tell you
right?
that. I say that all the time.
What if he's in Switzerland? Like, you don't know. But because and this is one thing that my mentor always would tell me. He said, your level of work ethic is only as good as your experience. So when you begin to expand your experience,
yes,
you begin to expand what you're really good at.
I agree.
And so I'm just like, okay, and that's why he would always keep me close and be like, I'm going to show you this. I'm going to expose you to this. I'm going to expose you to this. Your experience is only your exposure. So once I got into this investment world and I realized they don't teach us this in high school. They don't teach us this in middle school. I started learning how to teach kids this. And I started realizing, like, my son, this year, I'm fully starting at 8 years old. My son is going to become an investor over the next year. And so I'm like, they teaching us trigonometry and calculus when they should be teaching us the financial markets. The reason why nobody wants to do this type of stuff, guess what? You be like, trading, what? I'm not finna do that. The reason why, you're conditioned not to want to do better.
Yeah.
You're conditioned to think that it's crazy.
Yeah.
When I remember, again, we always try to say this, past profits doesn't guarantee future outcomes. But I remember when I made my yearly salary at State Farm, making like $60,000, $70,000 a year. I remember when I made that in 3 hours. And I said, what in the world have I been doing my whole life? There's people in my world that's making $2-3 million a month, $30 million a month. And we're sitting over here like, oh, I just got a raise for $21 per hour. There's people that are making, I just saw something, a breakdown. There's people that's making $2,000 a minute, $100,000 a month. There's people that's doing this stuff. And we're sitting over here just like thinking that we have to accept it. And then the thing that he would always tell me is, once I expose you to this, you're not going to want to go back.
Yeah.
Once I expose you to a 5-star living and first-class service, you're not going to want to go back to economy.
Definitely.
Because when you walk on that plane and you see everybody in first class and they all looking at you while you walk back to coach, you be like, bruh, I need to get up here. But it's the same plane. You're still going to the same place, but it's the level of quality that you get. So now I have my business First Class Universal, FCU. That's what I named my brand and my team and everything like that. It's First Class Universal. It's the only experience you deserve. When I realized, no, Stephon, because of how we grew up, the childhood trauma, you don't realize what you deserve. You don't realize that you can actually get married and somebody can actually love you the right way. You don't realize that you can go to a job and actually show your value and be elevated the way you're supposed to be. You don't realize that you can be an entrepreneur and step out on faith, and you may have $0 to your name right now. But what you deserve is multi-millions or even billions. So this is what now, I remember I always told my grandmother before she passed to cancer, God rest her soul, I said, Grandma, I'm going to be a billionaire one day. And she would always call me her $1 billion baby. So then now, fast forward, I'm 30 years old. I'm coming around. I remember 30 years old. I ain't have not one. All my friends was broke. We all asking for help from each other. Or, hey, can you put some gas money on here? And we all go to the, and it's so funny. We'll get together. We'll get together to pop a bottle, but we won't get together to start a business. Mm-hmm. We'll get together to say, let's go on vacation and look at these guys and look at these girls, but we won't get together to say, hey, let's really do this together and let's blow up.
Yeah.
So come I'm 30 years old now. I'm in the business for the first year. Every single person in my contact now is a multimillionaire. And they in their 20s. And they in their 30s. Every single one of them. I'm like, God, you literally just took my contact from all being brokies to all being, shout out to Lotto, brokies to all being multimillionaires. So then now I'm at the point, I'm like, okay, no. Because what I used to think was so far away, like, I can't do that.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, like, everybody in my whole circle is millionaires, including myself. But then here goes the next part of that. You make the money, but who taught you how to keep the money?
Yeah.
So I made the money, and guess what? I'll be 100% honest. There was time I literally lost a lot of it. But then I had to gain it, right? But because of that experience, it taught me how to gain it back.
How did you lose it?
Investing in the wrong things and the wrong people and giving too many people. Here goes the thing. Once you start making money, everybody wants a piece.
Yeah.
And then everybody thinks that they have the best idea for your money and where you should invest it. And then what happens when that investment flops? And now you going to blame them? You can only blame yourself because you never was taught to how to handle money before.
Yeah.
So now, the one thing that can't be taken away from me, though, is the skill set that I learned. Mm-hmm. So I don't care if I was to lose it 20 million times. Because I have the skill set, I can go get it 30 million times. And that's what I'm trying to explain to people. So as somebody in this investment world, I started learning risk management. And trading really teaches you life. It teaches you not to be greedy. It teaches you to accept what you get. And it teaches you to be grateful, not to accept what you get, but to be grateful for what you get. And so when I started learning risk management, now I teach all of my team. Before you learn a strategy, before you even learn how to trade, you need to learn risk management. Well, what is risk management? Risk management is knowing when to leave. Risk management is knowing when to stop. Risk management is knowing when you're ahead to protect what you already have. Well, does that not apply to life? Ladies, you would save yourself a lot of trouble if you just learn when to say no. When you would learn when to just leave. When you know for a fact that ain't your husband, but yet you still acting like you treating him like you his wife. Stop. Be honest with me. Maybe, and I'm saying this to you as a more mature version of yourself now. Do you know when a guy is wasting your time? From jump.
Absolutely.
Why do you tell me, why do you think women, or why have you decided to look past that sometimes? I mean, I know one of the main reasons, but I'm not.
Ignorance. Mm-hmm. The Bible says the prudent see danger and take refuge, and the simple keep going and pay the penalty. Mm-hmm. Ignorance. Because literally lack of knowledge, because I have been taught, like, for example, my mama was married to my dad. My dad adopted me. Right. And she used to say all the time, I just wanted to know that I did all that I could, like, in order to make it work before I walk away. So that was always playing in the back of my mind. But my mama never told me not to do those type of things with a boyfriend or with somebody that you just met. Like, I felt like I had to give my whole self to everyone that came in my life. And even if I felt like it was something off, I was like, okay, let me just give them grace, because if I don't, then I'm going to just cut you off as soon as. So,
yeah,
lack of knowledge, I believe.
Got you. Now, watch this. There's a lack of knowledge, and then here goes trading. Then it becomes greed. So in trading, we do this thing where we're up. We could be up $500, but that little thing on our shoulder say, "But you can go make 1,000," and then you let it turn around and go negative.
Yeah.
So it's the same thing in relationships. Guess what? You got. It's not necessarily greed, but it's the fact of I want it lust. Okay, just talk about it. It's lust or what makes you feel good.
Yeah.
I know by being a past player, by being a past, you know, I had my season, but but at the same time, I could literally know exactly what to say to a woman. I could read stuff about a woman. I was raised around it. My uncles, even my dad, before his day, you see his old pictures, he got on tight jeans with boots and a hat and an open shirt. And I'd be like, bro, who did you think you were? And it's just, and then my mom, she's a counselor. So, you know, I've always been taught characteristics, how to read people, all this type of stuff. I would always tell Mom, I'm not your client, I'm your son. Yeah. But I guess what? We got it the most. And at the end of the day, but it did teach me in that. So here goes the thing. There's sex makes people dumb. Yeah. I'll just say it like that without being too rated R. Sex makes people dumb. And once that happens, this is why I believe that God says to wait for marriage, because you would know that this person is not good for you, but because the way that they make you feel in certain ways, you'll stay with them.
Exactly.
And that's really, especially for a lot of women, that's why they will do crazy stuff and even do crazy stuff to that man. Right? So
over a piece of meat.
Oh my gosh. Hey, and vice versa. That water, what Tyler say is that water. We know, right?
Goodness. So okay, move on.
next up, that water be crazy, boy. But no spring fountain. Okay. Anyway, all right. But seriously, it's just you have to That's what trading has just taught me, is that then guess what? There's going to be pullbacks. So then in the trading world, you got where the market is just going straight up, and that's great. But then eventually, what goes up must come down in the trading market. So it goes up and then it has to come down. Now, the thing that you don't want it to do is when it comes down, you don't want it to go all the way down.
Stephon giving a lesson right now.
You want it to come. You need that pullback in order to continue. So some people look at life, and when stuff doesn't go your way and stuff is happening and you feel like, oh my gosh, I'm spiraling backwards. No, you're not. God is pulling you back to slingshot you forward. Yeah. Because sometimes you go forward, but you didn't learn something in this area, so you need to be pulled back so that you can learn a little bit more, and now you're ready to be catapulted higher than where you were already at that you thought you was at. So think places where I was, and I thought, oh, this is the apex. I'm here. I've made it. And God was like, you stripped. No, you're not. Even recently, I went through something in my business where God stripped me, and I could have either chose to quit or I could have chose to leave. But then God sends people. I told you, when God sends people, you can't ignore them. So shout out to Cain. Cain came in and said, I believe in you. I'm going to teach you the game. I'm going to show you everything. But I could have been in my hurt feelings and would have been like, nah, it's not time yet. I'm good. You know what? I've experienced enough in this world. I'm ready to leave. But because I was actually open and I said, all right, God, you sending a multi-millionaire literally telling me I'm ready to believe in you. I'm ready to help you. And I'm going to give him all my excuses of why I don't want to join him?
This sounds like a slug.
Oh, no. Anything I say it's a setup for a reason. Ugh. This is crazy because there's so many people. Guess what? On The Pursuit of Happiness, he was talking about this in the movie. He's like, God, let's say you was drowning in the ocean. God, I need your help. Send me some help. A boat comes by. Mm-hmm. No, don't worry about it. God is going to send me help. Another boat come by. Don't worry about it. God's going to send me help. And then you die and go to heaven. And then you say, God, why didn't you help me? I sent you 2 boats. Yeah, but because it's not the way you see it and not the way you feel it, the number one thing that just pisses me off, I didn't feel it. Well, you keep on not feeling it. You keep on not feeling it because when God is trying to tell you something, he's going to literally put it right in front of your face. And he may be in a black leather shirt with some Pumas on his feet, telling you, join me. Yeah. She didn't get it. But, I'm just playing. But at the same time, no, seriously. So when Cain came into my life, and guess what? You also have to be careful not to make, this is true game. you have to make these people not be God.
Yeah.
Because they're there to help you.
That's good.
They are not
Stephon.
there to become God.
That's good.
And because you can be in a victimized place or in a low place, and these people come in, you begin to see them almost as a God figure. Not that you're not confusing them with God, but you'd be like, okay, what do I need to do? Whatever I need to do. Da, 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 da. And it's just like, no, God put them in your life to help you, but now you need to be more discernful of what you're supposed to do. So I've learned that as well. So I love Cain. Cain gives me amazing advice, wisdom, knowledge, and all those different things. But I realize at the same time, he's not God. God still got to be able to speak to me, and I got to be able to hear. So, but because it's in alignment, everything that God be telling me, Cain be telling me. Everything that Cain be telling me, God be telling me. And now we literally exceeding through the roof. Yeah. So then here it goes. You got the pullbacks, then you got the continuations. And then at the next point is now you have duplication. So I'm a network marketer too. I teach networking. There's a skill to networking. People just think, oh, I'm going to meet you. Hey, how you doing? And this is my number one rule. You don't never know. A high can turn into multi-millions for you. But people are too scared to open their mouths. Yeah. People are too, watch this, comfortable not to go to a networking event. They're too comfortable not to play games. Come on. I love that sound.
I would talk.
I love that sound.
I'm going to talk.
Oh, good. But no, guess what? I promise you, I have learned. Now, I will do anything. I'm going to network with anybody. I'm going to say hi to anybody. And I'm going to go. This is where one thing, I don't go where I'm not invited, but I know how to go where I'm not invited. Yeah. Hopefully that makes sense. And I learned that in the music industry. They would tell you, I would do 20 red carpets in one night. I ain't staying at that event. I'm just going there to get my photos and say that I was here, and I'm gone in 20 minutes to go to the next one. Mm-hmm. So I've learned how to, okay, you know what? No, I'm not going to miss the opportunity because I'm in my feelings that I wasn't invited. Yeah. I'm going to go show my face, boom, 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 get the content, and then I'm headed out. So now as a networker, I realized, wait a minute, networking, financial education, trading, investing, how does it all make sense? Well, the only reason why I'm sitting in this room right now on this microphone is because of Raya Michelle. Is this an accurate statement? True. And the only reason, I'm even going all the way, I'm rewinding it before her. The only reason why I even met Raya Michelle is because of my bro Diego, who had a Libra birthday party last year, who invited her. Met her there. She then began to follow me on social media. You know, as a social media manager, because I'm actually active on my social media and I'm posting, that's your foot soldier. A lot of you guys don't even realize your business is not growing simply because you don't post online. Yeah. Your business is not growing online or period simply because imagine your social media is your storefront. Does it say open or does it say close? So then when I realized, okay, you know what, I'm posting. Come February, she finally reaches out to me. What do you do? I said, well, I invest and I trade and I network. I think I want to do that. Okay, well, hop on a call and I'll show you everything. Showed her everything. This girl says to me, well, I showed her everything, whole hour. I showed her everything, full detail, because that's just her. She want to know everything. At the end of the call, she's like, okay, well, I don't know if I want to do it yet. Let me pray about it and I'll get back to you. I said, this is exactly what I told her. God don't take that long to respond. This is what I mean by the God factor. I said, God don't take that long to respond. I said, do you need me to pray for you right now? She's like, yeah, you pray for me right now, then maybe I'll think about it. I said, okay. I stopped what we was doing, presentation off, and I prayed with her on the phone right then and there. Then she signed up with the most expensive package on our list. Since then, this girl has grown into a community that loves her. Her name is already known all around the world. She's already hosted her first event last month in Houston, and now I'm positioning her to literally be the queen of Houston and beyond. She's going to Dubai in January. So she's already known by Middle Easterns, Europeans, Canadians, South Americans, all because she made one decision to say yes. And then she introduced me to the lovely Mia at the previous events. That's where I met her. That's where I met you. And I was like, okay, so what do you do? I'm the networker, right? I don't just get caught up on one person. I say, God just started speaking. I'm just feeling light and energy over here. I'm just like, okay, what do you do?
Light and energy. I like that.
I'm just like, well, what do you do? And this, and this. We always like to fight and argue. I don't know why. That's just our dynamic art. But we started playing back and forth, and then I was like, yeah, I'll come on your show. She was like, but be for real. I was like, I'm serious. I'm going to come.
If you're going to be anything.
So, but guess what? Even perfect time, and I'm like, all right. When we leave here, we finna go to Raya's birthday. But I just said, okay, I got to wait for the right time. And then now I believe that it's the perfect time. She didn't join when I first met her. She's tougher than Raya. But I told her before I leave, she's going to be on with us because this platform is so much bigger than what she knows. And literally within a matter of a month or two, this is going to skyrocket and she has no idea. It's not about just trading, y'all. It's not about just investing. This whole network that I'm a part of, we do way more than that. And so I believe that God is aligning everybody around. Well, no, this is first class. Look at her.
I look like first class.
This is first class with a little bit of a safari. But no, seriously.
Oh my goodness.
But no, like that. So that's just what it is. It's just like I have learned. Guess what? I was there for Raya, but if God shows me you, I'm going to, guess what? It's just in me. I'm going to talk to everybody. The janitor, the bus boy. Anybody could be the next multi-millionaire. And guess what? Now, I keep saying millions, but I already told you, I want to be a billionaire. Millions don't impress me no more.
Yeah.
Because I've been around it for so long now. And matter of fact, it's not even that long. For about 2 years, I have now been circulated around every top earner in the world, multi-millionaire. I've even been around some billionaires. And now, millions is just like, you make $1 million, that's not really a lot in America.
Yeah.
Even 10 million, you'd be like, well, shoot, I could do something with it. That's because you never had it.
Yeah.
That's what you've only been exposed to 4-figure levels, 5-figure levels, maybe 6-figure levels. But once you start hanging around 7, 8, 9, 10-figure earners, 11, 12, it's like your experience and your belief goes up. David Monetier, he's another one of my mentors out here in Houston. And he had a book called Conceive, Believe, Achieve. Well, you first got to be able to see it. Conceive. Sometimes you may be living with your mama and your dad, but you got to go put a picture of your penthouse on the side of your bed. You may be driving a Mazda or a Nissan. That was me. But you got to go put a picture of that Rolls Royce Cullinan in the drive dash of what you want to do, or your Lexus or your Mercedes or whatever, your Ferrari. That's conceiving it. Then you have to go achieve it. Or conceive, believe, achieve. Then you got to believe that you can actually do it. Okay, so you here. I told you I'm going to interview you. What is this podcast going to become? Speak it. I want to know what you believe.
Well, I do have you mentioned something about this in the car. Mm-hmm. I did write the vision down and make it plain about a talk show, but not necessarily not exactly what you said. Something more like a Steve Harvey kind of talk show, but not all the time with other people coming, but with other people coming. Yeah. That kind of stuff. But it being some motivation, inspiration, that type of stuff.
All right, shake my hand. It's already done. 2 agreed. All right, so then there it is. So then that's just what I'm saying is, okay, you believed it. Now it's time to go achieve it. But in order to achieve it, now this is the number one thing that I've learned. This is where networking comes into the picture. You don't know who you're going to meet to help you achieve it. And the achievement part comes with, guess what? This is as entrepreneurs, as creatives, one thing y'all better know is you're going to need some capital and some money. Okay. Or network. It's all, they used to say your network is your net worth. So if guess what? You don't know who I know. I don't know who you know. But at the end of the day, when we come together, it could be a very powerful thing. And at the end of the day, in order to achieve certain things, you got to put your ego down. Doesn't mean that you accept bad money, but you got to be able to accept when people are trying to help you put money into your hands. Again, as long as it's right. Because I've been around people who try to do some illegal things. I've been around people that try to, hey, what's your Bank of America? Nothing. You're not getting my Navy Federal. No, you're not doing it. We're not doing no Chase glitch over here. But at the same time, I'm just like, no. Okay, Kane, all right, Miranda, all right, Dr. Spiller, Dr. O, they're teaching me how to have a skill set so that I can fish for life. Yes, it may seem foreign to you in the beginning, but what wasn't? Did you know how to set up all this podcast stuff when you first started? Or did you just like record it?
Child, I still don't know how to
And my point, because I seen it, right? So that's just what I'm saying. But you don't have to know in the beginning. That's why God sends mentors. That's why God sends people with the experience. So if you don't know how to invest, you thought about trading, hit me up. Hit Raya up. Hit her up. Guess what? It's up.
You know what? This is the first podcast I did. I ain't have to ask no questions.
You feel me?
Because he gave me the whole rundown. I ain't even say, well, how did you get into that? He just said everything. So you model, you are artist, you trade, invest, network, and what was the other thing you said? Oh, first class universal.
Yes.
And kings and queens.
King and queen moves only.
King and queen.
Yes, and first class universal, it's not just going to be in the trading world. It's going to be across a lot of different brands. So same thing for King and Queen Moves Only. That was King Moves Only Entertainment. So that's going to be where I step more into my producer role. So King Moves Only Entertainment is actually a real thing. I have my LLC, S Corp, all that type of stuff put in place. Also, even in our business model, we do a lot of different things. But my main thing is really teaching the trading and investment world. But I also am getting into investments. And this is something that Kane is actually teaching me. Once you make all this money, what are you going to do with it?
Yeah.
Everybody thinks it's just about making the money. When you you're supposed to leverage this skill set to make the money so you can go do some other things. So I want to get into real estate, land development. I do angel investing, all these different type of things. So it's kind of like Shark Tank. It's one of my favorite shows where I see other businesses and I'm like, okay, if I see it and it connects with me, I might just invest into it. We become business partners. We do whatever. But it takes a lot for me to be able to see the vision behind somebody because most people don't even believe in themselves.
Yeah.
So that's just it. So after you get the money, now you got to be able to do something with it. I'm thinking about getting citizenship, a residency in Dubai as well. Shoot, do y'all even know Dubai don't even have taxes? But over here, guess what? With capital gains and whatever you make over here, you're going to 30% go to the government for no reason. So now, I'm put my money over there in Dubai.
So I have 3 questions.
I got 4 answers.
The first 2 is you said that you didn't know how to keep the money at first. Mm-hmm. So what did you do to learn how to manage money better besides just losing it?
Yep.
And how do you, what do I want to say? Like, because I come from this place of worshiping money.
Right.
And God had to teach me, So how do you not worship the money that you make? How do you still put God first with you making all the money that you make? Yeah.
So the first thing is I had to, and we say this a lot as mentors and stuff like this. You have to stay around the fire. When you lose that type of money, or even if you don't have the money, you got to go stay around the fire. You got to go get around the people who do have it.
Yeah.
Be around what you're trying to become. Mm-hmm. I don't understand people who don't have money, who don't have no drive, but they expect that their stuff is just going to happen.
Yeah.
So, for instance, I just came to this event today. There's a lot of creatives around here. So if you're feeling down and you're not, I don't care if you got to drag yourself out the bed. Yeah. Get here and come get inspired.
Yes.
Right? So shout out to Khalil, right? So it's the same thing as for me. Now this is God honest truth. This is when I was going through stuff in my marriage. Guess what? I literally went to Houston and moved to Houston just to be around my mentor.
Yeah.
Because if I didn't, I was going to fade all the way back. When I lost that amount of money, and it happened because I never experienced that before, I went into a whole year's worth of depression.
Yeah.
That's the real truth behind it. I know people ain't lost no money until they really, no, you talk about depressed and suicidal and stuff like that. No, when you lose everything that you have, after you just made the most money you've ever had, don't come telling me, oh, I lost $10 today. Okay.
It's still cut.
So then it's just so for me, I said, no, I went to go, Dr. Spiller. I lived and breathed and stayed at his house 16, 18 hours a day just to get right back up and come back over there again. Yeah. I wanted to study this man's brain. I wanted to study his energy. I saw how he handled tough situations. I saw when our previous company was not doing cool things to him, and I saw how he handled that. So it's not always just about staying around the fire for the good things. It's also staying around them to see how they handle the bad things. Mm-hmm. And so when I realized that, I said, okay, so now when all this stuff is happening to me, I feel invincible because I've seen somebody who I respected and loved handle all of this stuff. I've seen how they progress through it. But the biggest thing is keeping God first. Everything, even when that happened, when I lost the money, that showed me that I could not depend on money.
Yeah.
Because even money can fail you.
Absolutely.
And so at that moment, I had to realize my joy and my eternal happiness and all of that is only going to come from God. Like during that time period, I'm being so honest, I was going through a season of like suicidal thoughts, being so honest. And I had the video on my phone where like I tried to pop pills and stuff like that. And it was just like, bro, what in the world were you thinking? Like life was, and you got kids, bro. You got a family.
Yes, come on, Stephon.
So it's just like, this is how, and this is what the prophet said to me at 19 years old, which is why it comes back to be spooky a little bit. He says, the enemy could not destroy you, so he tried to get you to destroy you.
That's facts.
And so this is what y'all be understanding. You'll be like, oh, the devil and the devil. The devil has no power.
Yes.
We got to stop giving the devil so much credit and so much power. He literally has no power. Only thing he can try to do is influence you, and it's up to you to make the decision and the choice.
Yes, he uses.
Which is why the Bible tells us to flee temptation, which is why it says to run the opposite way. You can choose not to sin.
Yes.
And I'm learning this as a 35-year-old still to this day. But it's getting clearer, and it's getting clearer, and it's getting clearer. The more these type of conversations I get, it just sharpens up even more. Like, nah, the devil really tried to take me out. Yeah. I told myself at the beginning of this year, I'm not drinking no more. The team want to go out, we start drinking. Now, 2 weeks later, my kidneys start hurting. I'm like, I said I'm done drinking. Why did I even go drink? No, I have to stay strong. I have to get around other people that don't want to drink. I got to get around. I don't want to drink, but then you're going to go hang around alcoholics. I don't want to smoke no more. Well, let me go over here to this smoker party where I know they're going to be smoking. Oh, well, I'm strong enough. I got the Lord in me. No. You finna go in. Unless you fully girded up strong, and you not finna go over there and convince them people. Yeah. You putting yourself in harm's way. So I learned that. And so now I choose to hang around high-thinking individuals. I understand that you can have fun. I'm not telling you can't drink or smoke or whatever you want to do. But it's in limits. It's in however you want to do it. But for me, it's just like, okay, I'm held to this standard. Yeah. So even if you catch me every now and then, I'll still drink some wine. I'm done with the hard liquor.
Yeah, that's me.
I'm done with I'll do wine every now and then if it's a special occasion, birthday. But now I realize it's not even for me. Liquor always makes my body hurt. Smoking makes my throat hurt. Too. So it's just like, and even that, guess what? That's an excuse. Well, I can still do wine. That's just because I don't want to fully let it go. Yeah. See, I'll just check my own self on camera. That's because I really don't want to fully let it go. But eventually, when God's done stripping me, it's going to all be gone. And it doesn't mean I can't have fun. I've learned, guess what? I'll be the one in the club drinking water and the orange juice and the cranberry juice. And I'm going to have more fun than you. When did we get to the point to where we got to drink in order to have fun? Think about that message that you're telling yourself. You got to drink in order to have fun. You got to smoke in order to have fun. That's the trick. When I see my homies 20, 30 years old in the club every single night, bro, yeah, it looks fun and cool now. Y'all smoking the hookahs, y'all drinking, y'all popping the 1942, Don Julio, Fulio. Y'all look cool right now, but watch what your lungs and your kidneys and all that do when you 40, 50, 60. Well, I got people in my family, they've been smoking their whole life. Okay, that's great. God may have a different calling on your life. I just told y'all that. So, I'm not going, millionaires and billionaires do it, but it doesn't matter. Stop. You can never compare your life to somebody else. Because what they may have grace to do, you may get killed today. And that's what I've learned. What she may have grace to do and go out there, well, she slept with this and this and this and that. Okay, well, you're going to do it this one time and catch AIDS.
And the crazy part about that is that I have realized that every time, I've realized that God is not blessing what he's not in. Mm-hmm. So it may look like they're getting away with stuff,
right?
And they're not actually getting away with it. Just like what you said,
Mm-hmm.
they did it and then they caught something,
Mm-hmm.
but you don't see that they caught something. You
Right.
don't know that they caught something. You just know that she went with her man tonight,
Right.
and you don't have a man,
Right?
Like,
and you sitting at the house all lonely, thinking that, oh, look at her, look at her. It's just, or it's the same thing. Even in business, guess what? When there's pullbacks in business, when things doesn't go as planned, even me recently, I had to rebrand and step away from some business partners and things like that. Guess what? It can look like other people are winning, but you are supposed to run your own race. Because when God is done with you, when God is saying, I'm going to elevate you, there's nothing no man can do to stop it. Nothing. So don't look at other people's success and get discouraged because you don't have what they have. Maybe God is trying to set you up for more. And if it's not more, he's going to set you up for what you're supposed to have. So that's just it. I'm just here. Shout out to me. We outside.
I just want to touch on something he said. Nobody can stop what God has for you. And I was reading Exodus one day. The Pharaoh was trying to decrease the number of Hebrews. Mm-hmm. And then when the midwives didn't kill the boys, God still increased them and still they had their power. But that's because no one can stop God's plan. No one can stop what God has for you. Mm-hmm. That was always part of God's plan for the Hebrews to be high in number and to be powerful. But Pharaoh couldn't stop that even with what he told them to do. Last question is, if you could tell an entrepreneur one thing, an entrepreneur that's trying to figure it out, one thing, one piece of advice, just one, what would you tell them?
The first thing is you have to believe that you deserve the life that you're chasing. The second thing is get around the life that you're chasing. And then the third thing is go make it happen. Don't let nobody deter you. Don't look to the left or to the right. Don't compare your journey to nobody. Don't compare your success to nobody. You got to know that God is with you, and you got to go make it over that mountain. It's not going to be easy, but it's going to be worth it. And if you trust God and you discern the right people around you and you get around the right fire, you'll become a trailblazer. That's it.
Hallelujah and amen. Thank you so much, Stephon.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
All the way from freaking Dallas.
Triple D.
And not even making me have to ask any questions because he literally said everything. We didn't have to ask him nothing. And thank you for just dropping gems. So just tell the people how to find you. How do we find you if we want to start trading and investing?
Yeah.
What about if we want help with getting into modeling and all this good stuff?
I mean, I'm very sociable. You can just hit me on Instagram. At Stephon Royal 3. 3 is my favorite number, but Stephon is Stephon Royal 3. Same thing. That's on TikTok. That's on Threads. That's on Snapchat. Stephon Royal 3. And then if you make it into my DMs and we actually begin to talk, you'll get my phone number if I like you. Okay. But seriously, no, you can hit me up, you can hit her up. And again, I'm normally around Houston, Dallas, Atlanta, LA, San Diego. But at the end of the day, I know I was finna say the rest of the world, but she come and the rest of the world. But no, seriously, you can just easily just follow me. Mainly, I'm gonna respond back to you on Instagram. So Stephon Royal 3 or KingMovesOnly at gmail.com for all my old heads that want to email.
All right. Well, thank you for coming back for another episode of Purified the podcast. I hope and I pray that some perspectives have been purified. But I will see you next time on the next episode.